4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We're rocking and rolling with you all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time today. I got Moist Mike, and I got Nico with me. There are 5 wide receivers right now in the NFL that I am fascinated by where they're going to be this time next year. Out of these 5 wide receivers, I think 0 of them will be traded before the start of this season. However, out of those 5, I think 2 wide receivers will be staying for a long time with the current team that they're on. Those 2 wide receivers that I believe will get new deals with their teams, 2 of them are in the final year of their contract currently. And those 2 wide receivers are Brandon Aiyuk and CeeDee Lamb. Now, a lot of people may say, but Zach, Brandon Aiyuk just requested a trade. I don't give a damn if Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade. That's a big misnomer with us sports fans out there, because now we live in an era of player empowerment. So just because a player says, I want out, I want to trade, I don't want to be on this team anymore, does not mean that the team has to oblige. And we have seen before with Deebo Samuel that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch aren't afraid to have an uncomfortable contract situation. And it would be inane if you had the San Francisco 49ers with Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Aiyuk on the offensive side of the ball, if they elected to say right now, when Aiyuk is still under contract with the team, hey, we're going to get rid of him. And the only part to me that doesn't make sense what the 49ers are doing right now is you see the report yesterday, hey, Brandon Aiyuk wants to get traded, and the Niners haven't had contract talks in a few months with Brandon Aiyuk, but they want to keep him. That's the one holdup for me. And you could maybe say Aiyuk's asking for an unreasonable price. I guess that's part of the conversation. But that doesn't make sense why they're waiting and waiting and waiting. But rather, if it happens this year or next year, I ultimately do believe because of his age, Brandon Aiyuk is going to be the one, not Deebo Samuel, who I do think will be on the move, and I'll get to that in just a second. I do think Brandon Aiyuk will be sticking around long-term with the San Francisco 49ers, and it will be another San Francisco 49ers wide receiver that we thought, this relationship's over, it's a contentious relationship, we're towards the end of the road, and then in the 11th hour, they find a way to get a deal done. So I do not believe that the San Francisco 49ers are trading Brandon Aiyuk. I also believe that CeeDee Lamb with the Dallas Cowboys is in the final year of his contract. He will be a Dallas Cowboy long-term. CeeDee Lamb is a top 10 wide receiver in the league. You know Jerry Jones loves himself some stars. And you even had a current Cowboy, not a former, current Cowboy, Malik Hooker, remember a week and a half ago, come on out and say, yeah, Dak Prescott deserves to be paid. CeeDee Lamb needs to get paid. Zach Martin needs to get paid. And then Micah Parsons needs to get paid. And he said all those guys, though, that I just mentioned before Micah need to get paid before Micah gets paid, which is crazy that a current player on the drama Dallas choking Cowboys would say that, but that's just like how the Cowboys love doing business. I don't think the Cowboys, who've had this legacy, right, of star big-name wide receivers, are going to allow CeeDee Lamb to go play elsewhere before getting that second contract. And I do believe that Jerry is going to give, and Stephen Jones and Will McClay, they are going to give CeeDee Lamb a mega deal. So then there's 3 other wide receivers out there. And I don't think Davante Adams will be traded by week 1. I don't think T. Higgins will be traded by week 1. And I don't think Deebo Samuel will be traded by week 1 of this season. But you look at Davante Adams. He's not an unrestricted free agent until 2027. T. Higgins is playing on the franchise tag this year. The likelihood of them tagging him, the Bengals, in back-to-back years is very minuscule. And then you have Deebo Samuel, who was that wide receiver that was disgruntled, demanded a trade from the 49ers, and then they found a way to get a deal done. It's crazy that contract is almost coming to an end because Deebo has 2 years left on that contract, and one of them's this year, and then the next year is going to be what I think is a year that's going to be on a different team. Deebo is an unrestricted free agent in 2026. And I look at all three of those, and what would force those guys to not be on their current teams or want to stay with those current teams? The Higgins one, I would say it's easy, but I could point to other teams that have now found a way to pay 2 wide receivers. You look at the Dolphins. They have paid, and Tyreek Hill's going to get a new deal soon, but they have given Tyreek a big contract and then have given Jalen Waddle a big contract. Now, they haven't paid their quarterback yet. So you could say, but Zach, they haven't paid their quarterback yet. Well, look at Philadelphia. They have paid Jalen Hurts. They have paid A.J. Brown. And they have also paid Devontae Smith. So don't tell me that the Bengals can't get a deal done with T. Higgins because they have to pay Jamar Chase and they've already paid Joe Burrow. They can. I just think they're going to elect to use those resources somewhere else. I think they're going to look at it, and you saw this with Hard Knocks the other night with the Giants. When you're building a team, you could give a lucrative offer, depending on the position. It's all different. It varies. But you can give a lucrative offer to a player, and then it takes away from other areas of the team. I think the Bengals will find a way to get rid of T. Higgins, whether he just walks and you get a compensatory pick or they franchise tag him again, but they never intend to actually keep him and then they trade him. Like, there's different ways to go about this. But I do think T. Higgins is going to play his final season in Cincinnati this year. And then after that, it's where is he going to go? So that takes care of T. Higgins. I'll give you the answer on where I think he's going to go in just a second. But as for the other 2 wide receivers, Deebo Samuel and Davante Adams, I think it's clear you're already seeing it get set up right now. Davante Adams going to have his agents come out yesterday and say, oh, this is all speculation. This is all gossip. This is all talk about a potential trade of Davante Adams. I don't think Davante Adams is getting traded by the start of this season. Maybe by the deadline, but I still don't think he gets traded by the deadline. And I think Davante Adams knows what his dead cap is, know how tough it's going to be to get traded from the Raiders right now. And all he asked for at the end of the season, or even midway through the season, was get McDaniels out. And Antonio Pierce got the opportunity. Antonio Pierce ran with the opportunity. And then Antonio Pierce got the job. And I think out of respect to Antonio Pierce, you were going to have Davante Adams be a decent, good soldier this year. And then at the end of the year, O'Connell won't cut it. Minshew won't cut it. Sorry, Santa, I know you're a big Gardner Minshew fan. And then Davante Adams will say, the one thing I'm missing in my Hall of Fame career that I'm building is a championship. Even though I didn't win a championship in Green Bay, I was competing for a championship. I want to get back into that realm of competing for a championship because I want a Super Bowl ring. And Davante Adams will be a very attractive trade partner. Now, he could ask for a new contract. That's out of the realm of possibilities. But any team trading for him would still have him under contract for 2025 and then also 2026 because I don't think he's getting traded until next offseason, this upcoming offseason. Now, Deebo Samuel, why I think he's going to be done after this year in San Francisco is there's a lot of wear and tear in that body. He's still, though, a very good wide receiver. We know he basically plays 2 positions. He's a running back and a wide receiver. And Deebo Samuel, after this year, still has another year left on the contract. He's not an unrestricted free agent in 2026. And the Niners, it's not as just simple as paying the quarterback, which they still have to do, and then paying 2 number 1 wide receivers. The Niners have such a deep team right now that they probably, in all likelihood, can't afford to keep, for the long term, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk. For the long term, they probably can't afford to keep both. So I think they will get younger at that position. And I know they drafted a wide receiver who's now hurt in the first round. But I think they will choose the younger player in Brandon Aiyuk with less wear and tear on that body over Deebo Samuel. And I think it's lining up where they could find a way to avoid this being like that messy a year from now where it lines up, where you take the initial onslaught of Brandon Aiyuk not being happy. You either give him the deal now or next year, and then you make him your number one wide receiver, and then you trade Deebo Samuel by the draft next year with 1 year left on that contract, even if you don't get this rich return, but at least you get something back. So I think CeeDee Lamb is going to get a new contract from the Cowboys. I think in time, Brandon Aiyuk is going to get a new contract by the San Francisco 49ers. But I do think Deebo Samuel, who's not an unrestricted free agent until 2026, T. Higgins, who's on a franchise tag right now, and then Davante Adams, who's not an unrestricted free agent in 2027, I think all three of those players are playing their final season on their current team. I think this is the last season Deebo's with the 49ers. I think this is the last season T. Higgins with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think this will be the final season for Davante Adams with the silver and black in his short tenure with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, where do they go? Davante Adams is easy. I think he will find a way after this season to force his way back to his old pal Aaron Rodgers, as long as Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback of the Jets this time next year. You could cross that one off. It seems like that's a foregone conclusion after the season. I don't think it happens before next season. T. Higgins. The Patriots have been trying to get a number one wide receiver. They went all in on Calvin Ridley. They were willing to overpay for Calvin Ridley, but Calvin Ridley's girlfriend didn't want to go to one Patriot place. I think T. Higgins is going to go to whoever pays him the most amount of money. Patriots have a young quarterback in Drake May. They need playmakers on offense. They need a number one wide receiver. I think the Patriots will throw the bag, a big bag at T. Higgins a year from now. And then Deebo Samuel. This will turn into an AFC East party, right? The Bills, salary cap mess right now. The Bills, I like Keon Coleman. I like James Cook. We all know Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback in the league. But I could see a year from now when he has 1 year left on his contract and it's not going to cost you that much with draft capital. I could see the Bills calling up the 49ers and Brandon Beane and John Lynch getting a deal done for Deebo Samuel a year from now, joining the Buffalo Bills. So I really do believe this time next year, the AFC East already has some great wide receivers. Like, you look at the Jets with Garrett Wilson. You look at the Dolphins with their 1-2 punch of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And I know Stephon Diggs just left the Buffalo Bills, and they're investing in Keon Coleman. But I think the AFC East is about to get a lot of big-name wide receivers. With this time next year, Davante Adams being on the Jets, T. Higgins being on the Pats, and then also Deebo Samuel getting traded to the Buffalo Bills. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Let's start things off with Chris in Portland, who wants to jump in on the wide receiver conversation. Chris, good afternoon. What's happening?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Doing great. What do you got?
So kind of follow me on this. So in the NBA, there's a lot of scenarios where you find teams that are kind of looking for that one player to kind of put them over the top. And there's always a player who's kind of disgruntled somewhere else that's ready to leave. Not very common in the NFL. I think that we might have something that kind of works. I'm a longtime Niners fan, and I do hope the Niners get a deal done with Aiyuk. But I don't think that he is a top 5 receiver and should get $30 million a year. Well, what we do have is a guy like Davante Adams who wants out of Vegas, who makes around 26, which is what the Niners were offering Aiyuk. He's in the last year of his deal, and the Niners would be able to kind of fit that into their salary cap this year before they have to pay Purdy. And Aiyuk could end up going to Vegas, where, the Davis family is pretty much well known for paying, receivers like Aiyuk, who were kind of in that middle ground, but they look at him as higher level, that $30 million that he wants. I can very clearly remember the early 90s when the Niners couldn't beat the Cowboys. The Niners are kind of in a similar position with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs now. And they went out and they made a rent-a-player move for one deal, and they got Deion Sanders. And it completely changed everything for the 90s, the legacy of Steve Young. And I think Shanahan's kind of in that situation where it's like it's almost a letdown if he doesn't get one, because nobody's going to remember 4 NFC championships and 2 Super Bowl losses, but they will remember all of that. And it's
so you're saying so what you're saying is the Niners would trade Aiyuk, and you would get the Raiders trading Davante Adams to the Niners. That's the deal that you have on the table, right?
Yes.
I could understand why the Raiders would want to do it because you have a player in Davante Adams who's being fine right now, but you know that he's going to want out eventually, and you get a younger player in Brandon Aiyuk. And I understand why in this fantasy world, and it's a great phone call, I appreciate it, Chris. I understand in a fantasy world, oh yeah, the Niners, they would go love to get Davante Adams. I'm sure they would. But can they afford it? And I'm not great with the finances, right? I always think there's a way. But with all the money, you're going to eventually have to pay Brock Purdy. You're paying Christian McCaffrey. You know, if you get rid of Aiyuk, you still have Debo there with another year left in his contract. Bosa's money. Like, there's a lot of guys on that team. And I don't think the Niners are going to pay Davante Adams and just and swap out Brandon Aiyuk for him. Like, it's not crazy. They would still have to probably trade Debo Samuel off of it, but that's a lot of moving pieces. I only think the Niners would move one guy out. I don't think you're going to move out Aiyuk, bring in Adams, and then also have to trade Debo Samuel. Like, that's a lot going on there. So maybe there's a way to it, but I don't hate the idea, but I think it's going to be more difficult for the 49ers than the Raiders in that regard. So what do you think is going to happen with those 5 wide receivers? Aiyuk, Lamb, Davante Adams, Higgins, and Debo. I think Debo will be on the Bills next year. T. Higgins will be on the Pats. Davante Adams will be on the Jets. And I do believe that CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Aiyuk are going to stay with the current teams that they're on.
Do you think there's any chance that Tyreek Hill does not get more money from the Dolphins after they just gave Waddle that massive deal?
Would be shocked. He is the most valuable player on that team. And Tyreek Hill, it's not just coincidence that now, and I know he's been very supportive of Tua Tagovailoa, but he keeps on talking about Tua's contract, and now Tua deserves to get paid. Because he knows once Tua gets paid, he'll end up getting that brand new deal, and he's on the final year, not the final year of his contract, but last year with guaranteed money on his contract. All righty, we'll get to a little college football hot seat when we return. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network, and it is the Zach Gelb Show. I think there are 5 coaches right now that stand out to me in college football on being on the hot seat, and coaches that we could care about. Like, I'm sure there's some lower-level coaches or coaches that at big schools or not in big conferences that are on the hot seat that fans already expect them to be out, but it's like you don't really care about them. You know, I will say this time last year, I would say the coach that everyone thought was going to get fired, like there was no way he was going to keep his job, was Neil Brown at West Virginia. And Neil Brown, right, felt like a lame duck coach, felt like his job was going to be done with that West Virginia, new administration coming and all that stuff. And Neil Brown did a phenomenal job. And I will say this, I think West Virginia, especially with their quarterback this year, I look at them as a team that I think could be like sneaky good this year. Like no one's going to talk about them. The Big 12 is up for grabs. I'm not saying I'm picking them to win the Big 12, but at the end of the year, like if they're in contention, it would not shock me. So just because you're on the hot seat entering the year does not mean that, yeah, you're definitely not going to be back this time next year. So I'll give you one coach that I do think is on the hot seat, but I don't think he's going to actually get fired. Because I don't think it's going to be bad enough where he gets fired, and he has to do probably one thing to keep his job at a bare minimum. And quite frankly, it should be more than that. But Ryan Day, I do think there is a little bit of a hot seat for him. And you look at his record, we talked about this till we're blue in the face. He's 56-8 as the head coach of the Ohio State. He's been to a national championship game, even though they lost in 2020, with Ohio State. But the last 3 years, even though he's been 11-2, 11-2, and 11-2, he has had a big loss. And he's also had something else that's missing. And the 3 big losses have been Michigan, Michigan, Michigan. And then, because you haven't been able to beat Michigan, you haven't been able to win the Big Ten championship. And I do believe going into this season, and you guys know me, I don't like Ohio State, but I'm fair. Ohio State's the second best team in the country. So it's kind of funny because Ryan Day, the last 3 years, it's very Mike McCarthy-like, where you look at the record and you're like, that's a damn good record. But it's the same mistakes. Like the last 3 years, Mike McCarthy, 12 wins, 12 wins, 12 wins. And, he's exceeded expectations in the regular season with the drama Dallas choking Cowboys than what people thought he would when he got the job. But then the playoffs happen. And it's the same thing every year where it's embarrassing defeat or the offense stalls. And then there's that conversation where, yeah, McCarthy hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great. And you're seeing the same mistakes over and over and over again. That's been Ryan Day the last 3 years. Ohio State wins a ton of games in the regular season. Ohio State has the look of a championship program at times. But then the last 3 years when they go up against Big Bad Michigan, loss, loss, loss. So Ryan Day, to me, I think will beat Michigan this year. And that will bring him back as the head coach of Ohio State. But it would be fascinating if they don't beat Michigan this year. Because you don't have J.J. McCarthy there. You don't have Blake Corum there. You look back, they lost Chris Jenkins. Like, they lost a lot. And Harbaugh. So, nothing against the new quarterback orgy you saw a little bit last year. And you have Sharon Moore coming in. You still have a deep... I don't know what Michigan's going to be offensively. But defensively, with Will Johnson and Graham, 2 potential top 10 picks, they're going to be damn stout defensively. But offensively, I don't know what to expect out of Michigan. So Ohio State, with just a better quarterback, even though he's transferring in, and 2 stud running backs, you would think, even with Michigan's defense being great, that they would be able to outscore the Michigan offense, even though Michigan does have Donovan Edwards back. But let's be real, Donovan Edwards 2 years ago was awesome. Donovan Edwards last year in the regular season, he was not good. And then he had a monster championship game, which I predicted he was going to, and he ripped off those 2 big runs in the game. So I do believe Ohio State will beat Michigan this year, and that will continue Ryan Day's run at Ohio State. But if they don't, are they really going to fire him? That's the thing. Who are you going to bring in that's better? But at that job, you could have really good records. You don't beat Michigan, then that's usually a way to get yourself out of that university, regardless of what the rest of the time it does look like. So I do think Ryan Day is somewhat on the hot seat. Now, I do think Sam Pittman is on the hot seat at Arkansas. And let's just remember, if you want to go a little cross-sport in this, I do think Calipari going to Arkansas even puts more of a target on Sam Pittman's back, because you expect big-time results with Calipari at Arkansas with Pig Sooie, and also that brings a big feel. You look at Sam Pittman, he hasn't been bad. He was 9-4 in 2021. Everyone was talking him up. But we've seen a 3-7 season and a 4-8 season as well. So he was 3-7, 9-4, 7-6, and 4-8. He goes 3, 4, 5 wins again. Even though I think he's a good, solid football coach, they'll probably go reach for the stars and try to go get a bigger name in there than Sam Pittman. Other coaches that are on the hot seat, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, but does anyone, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but it's going to come off that way. Vanderbilt's always going to stink. I knew Vanderbilt, it pains me to say it, ever since James Franklin has left Vanderbilt, and that was a great job for James Franklin. He had a lot of success and it landed in the Penn State job. But ever since James Franklin has left Vanderbilt, that school's been a mess. Derek Mason was there forever. And now Clark Lee has been there for 3 years, 2-10. All right, 5-7. Oh, that's a good season for Vanderbilt. And then back to 2-10. And the SEC's only getting tougher when you add more schools. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to be any good this year. There's a hot take of the day. And Clark Lee will be out at the end of the year. But, who are they going to bring in? Do I expect the next guy to really get things rocking and rolling at Vanderbilt again? Sorry, I do not. But I think the next two names, Arkansas will draw attention, obviously. But I think the next two names will definitely draw attention. And that's Dave Aranda at Baylor and Billy Napier at Florida. I liked Billy Napier when he was at Louisiana. He was one of those young coaches that I identified, and we talked about a lot. But you see sometimes, right, the young, hot commodity then gets to his big job, and you don't see really the results that you anticipated. And with Billy Napier, I know a lot of people close to the Florida program love him and believe in him, but you got to go get results this year. And I don't think Florida is going to be able to do enough and they could be patient and stick through it. I get that. But I think you're going to have a lot of Florida fans at the end of this year saying, we got to go get somebody else. And you really look at Florida, they were the program when Urban Meyer was there. And Florida has had a lot of coaches coming in. And Dan Mullen, who was there, he outwore his welcome because he just didn't take accountability. But you look at that job, you're starting to trend with Florida being that program where it's, what they once were and not what they actually have been as of late because of how bad they've been as of late. It's like you're getting really far away from those Urban Meyer's days. And, they've had some double-digit win seasons with Mullen and with McElwain and with Will Muschamp. They haven't been putrid, but it's a different standard when you're Florida. And look, hey, Dan Mullen had right away, right out of the gate, 10-3, 11-2, then 8-4, and then start off that year 5-6, and he was out. Billy Napier 6-7 and 5-7. I don't put it past Florida getting rid of Billy Napier after this season. And Florida it will always attract interest. There's no doubt about that. But how many more coaches are you going to have to keep on going through until you get that next guy? And you want to talk about a guy whose stock has fallen? How about Dave Aranda? Matt Rule saved that Baylor program. They were in a terrible spot. And I know it was 2020, so he got a pass, Dave Aranda. And they went 2-7. And a lot of Rules guys were still there talking about players. And then they went 12-2. And they won the Big 12. Remember that crazy game right at the goal line. But after that, 6-7 and 3-9. And Dave Aranda isn't Mr. Personality. I'm not saying Dave Aranda isn't liked. I like Dave Aranda personally. I had him on this show once. A lot of people don't think he does a great interview. I enjoyed my conversation with Dave Aranda. But it felt like Baylor was really going to be humming after that 12-2 season. And since then, 6-7, 3-9. I know they made a lot of changes, but Dave Aranda at Baylor better have a winning season this year. Because if he doesn't, he'll be out of a job. So going into this year, Ryan Day has to beat Michigan. But then I think the other four coaches that are truly on the hot seat, Sam Pittman, Arkansas will definitely attract attention. Clark Lee, okay, whatever. It's Vanderbilt. I think that's just a bottom feeder of the SEC. And then you got Billy Napier and Dave Aranda at Florida and also Baylor. And I'll say this. I actually went to a Vanderbilt football game once. And it was when Temple beat Vanderbilt. I was on the call for the game. There was a monsoon. And the Temple Owls. This was 2015 or 2016, I want to say. Because I was still in college. They beat Vanderbilt. So, come on. I don't know. Even I, who have been very critical of James Franklin, could say that Vanderbilt definitely misses James Franklin. Probably should go back there. I don't think it'll work out, if he did go back. But at Penn State, that's a coach, Franklin. He could be on the hot seat too. And I think the standard for him, I expect Penn State to actually be good this year, which I rarely do. But in a 4-team format, I would never say they'd be a playoff team. In a 12-team format, yeah, Penn State should be a college football playoff team. I'll take a break in just a second, but sometimes I bring up a school out of nowhere, and I just wonder what their schedule looks like. Let me just see, because I can only think that Penn State's going to be a playoff team. But what's their schedule? Tough game week 1 at West Virginia. Then they play Cupcake U's in Bowling Green and Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. Yeah, they should only have 2 or 3 losses max. Max, I'm saying, when I look at that schedule. Ohio State is the best team on that schedule. But after that, you got some teams like even Wisconsin will be improved. I don't know what to expect out of USC. I think West Virginia will be good. Washington's going to fall back without DeBoer, even though Fish is there. It's like they should be a playoff team. And it was when Fozzie Whitaker joined us yesterday, I asked him, how many SEC teams do you think are going to get in the playoff? And I would have thought at least 4 would get in. He thinks only 3 will get in. And the more you think about it, that kind of does make sense because you only have 12 spots, 5 conference champions, and then after that, you got 7 spots right there to get to 12. So let's say 2 SEC schools after that will get in, and then you have 2 more Big Ten schools getting in. So that takes you, to 9, I think? You could probably still, will the ACC get in 2? Will the Big 12 get in 2? Those are questions. So I do think, Samter, probably 4 SEC schools will get in, but it's going to be fascinating to see the breakdown there when you look at those other spots outside of the 5 guaranteed for conference champions.
Well, you did say 2 other Big Ten schools, so Penn State could certainly be one of those schools.
They should be.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you think like Ohio State, USC, and Penn State maybe coming out of the Big Ten?
Oh, I don't think USC will be a playoff team.
No, probably. It's still USC, but yeah, probably not. Michigan, I don't know if
I think Michigan could still be a playoff team.
Could. But I think Penn State could be the 2nd or 3rd best team in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, I would think that when you rank it right now, if I had to give you the unbiased rankings, I would say the 3 best teams in the Big Ten entering this season.
You have to qualify with unbiased because we know how we all feel about Penn State thanks to Ryan Hickey.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it like it is. Ohio State's 1, Oregon's 2, and then I think it's Michigan or Penn State for that 3rd spot. And right now, I hate doing this. I give the slight edge to Penn State.
And listen, would you be shocked if Penn State was better than Oregon?
Yes.
Shocked?
Yes.
See, Penn State every year is right there. They just lose to the big teams. Drew Aller has another year. Yeah, Drew Aller has another year under his belt. Listen, I agree with you. Oregon is better. I wouldn't be shocked if Penn State finishes 2nd in the conference.
And that coach is allergic to winning a big game in James Franklin. Allergic.
There's a lot of coaches who could not win big games and eventually break through. Eventually, the odds have to get into his favor.
Well, he has won a Big Ten championship. So
there you go. That's enough.
But, there's a lot of times he's been on the wrong end of those games. I am very similar to Marco in this regard, outside of us both being big and angry. I'm a man of accountability. And James Franklin, every time he loses, there's always an excuse. I remember a game he lost to Ohio State. He's went on this 20-minute rant and he goes, it's because 6 kids didn't sit in the first row of class. Don't sound like an ass when you do that, coach. That's all I'll say. All righty, we'll take a time out. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Come on back with the news brief. Update time, though. Here is El Capitan, Mr. Accountability, the great, the legendary Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Zach, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Nothing to the rumors. That's what the agent for Davante Adams has been saying since the word crept up that Adams could be reuniting with Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Now, Adams has said he hasn't asked for a trade. Did admit life with Rodgers was good when they were together in Green Bay. It's courtesy of the Club Shay Shay podcast with Shannon Sharp.
If you got a tandem, anytime that you got somebody with some talent, they're going to make each other better. So
Correct.
I'm not afraid to say that he definitely made me better, but he definitely didn't create. You see it was the same numbers the very next year in Vegas. So obviously I didn't quote unquote need him, but it makes life a hell of a lot easier, that's for sure.
And Kalen DeBoer again set for year 1 with Alabama, taking over for Nick Saban. Wants the 7-time national championship coach to know, always welcome in Tuscaloosa.
Anyone who's poured into this program, I want them to always feel a part of it because they've got us to this place, and there's no one more than Coach Saban that's put this program on the map to the level it is right now. And so, I just appreciate any wisdom he shares, whether it be program related or just football in general.
I'm Marco Belletti.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
I'm playing hurt today, by the way. But first, it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, get to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INFSportsEd or at Zach Gelb. Using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I golf. I'm not a big range guy. Like, before my round, I don't like to hit a lot of golf balls. Like, sometimes I will just go up to the tee cold and not even warm up and then just swing away. But I've been trying to work on my game recently, so I went to the golf range today and, like, used the range for a full hour. I was wearing a glove, and I've changed my swing a little bit. And I don't know how, but even on my glove hand, I have a blister now on my finger, which is just annoying me during the show. Now, usually, if I wasn't swinging with a glove, I would expect that blister, but I never got the blister swinging with a glove on. So this is a big injury. Jordan had the flu game. I had the blister game. The blister broadcast right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's hear Patrick Mahomes on how he tries to ease their new draft pick, Xavier Worthy, into the fold.
I mean, there's no easing. Like, he's going to have to get out and be ready to go. We got a lot of competition on this offense. Brett Veach and Coach Reed did a great job bringing a lot of competition in. And Xavier, I mean, he got a lot of mental work in these last few weeks that he had during OTAs and minicamp, but it's time to go now. And, I mean, y'all saw it with Rashid last year and some of the throwing up days he had. I mean, we're gonna push you to the limit and prepare yourself to be ready to go for the season. And that's not just him, that's everybody. And everybody has to have that mentality when they come into camp.
And that's how it should be. You're in a championship program. You are the standard right now in the NFL. Like, you saw it even with Tom Brady and the Patriots. They drafted N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry not ready. Okay, boom. You lose that circle of trust very quickly. Because Mahomes is judged Super Bowl or bust each and every year, fair or not. You're not ready to go. You're not up to speed. You make mistakes and you lose his trust, then he's on to the next. Let's listen to John Mara. This is on HBO Hard Knocks. And this is John Mara on the Saquon Barkley free agency situation.
What's the latest? Just on the Saquon thing.
I just got a text that Chicago's driving the price up and Philly's out. I don't know if that's true or not. Which I don't know if I'll make a couple of calls. I don't even know if that's gonna happen, but
I have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia. I'll tell you that. As I've told you, just being out. I've been around enough players, but he's the most popular player we have by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not wrong. He is the most popular player. Doesn't mean he's the best player. I think that was Dexter Lawrence. But the more and more I watch this on Hard Knocks, the more and more it's clear that Joe Shane just had to keep on talking to Saquon's camp and say, hey, go test the market. They were never going to give him the deal that he wanted because they wanted to utilize those resources elsewhere. And that team's not ready to go, so you don't overpay for a running back or have to give a running back a big deal. But he also had to be sensitive to John Mara, knowing that John Mara's on the team, and you had to at least look like you're interested when in reality Joe Shane probably wasn't. We'll keep it moving. Here is Christopher Mad Dog Russo on the ESPN. He was yelling today at Paul Feinbaum about Lincoln Riley and his tenure so far at USC.
USC what was their record before he got there the year before? Did they lose 5 games? 4 games?
But Doggy, in the transfer, I mean, he brought a bunch of players. He brought the best player in the country with him.
And won a Heisman Trophy with him.
Didn't get much out of him.
And he won a Heisman Trophy and a place where they win Heisman with Marcus Allen and Charles White and Simpson.
How many trophies did how many
Carson Palmer
trophies did he hold up?
Well, hold on now. You talk about Heisman Trophy at USC. That means everything. Carson Palmer, Leinart, Reggie Bush, Simpson. They love Heisman trophies. And he brought a Heisman Trophy there. That counts. That counts. USC. That's why. It's a much better program than Oklahoma. I'm surprised at you. Don't talk about Vanderbilt football.
I can't say that. I love Dog, but I can't say that Lincoln Riley's been successful at USC. Yeah, he's won a Heisman Trophy with Caleb Williams. And I know Caleb got hurt, and that's a big reason why they didn't win the Pac-12 championship that first year at USC. But how about last year? He didn't have the guts to, before the start of the season, get rid of his friend, the defensive coordinator coming over from Oklahoma, and then look what happened. So, come on. You can't sit there and act just because Caleb Williams won a Heisman that all of a sudden we need to throw bouquets at Lincoln Riley when describing his tenure so far at USC. Let's go to Jason Tatum. He tells LeBron how he once didn't give him an autograph. Was this when he was a kid? All right, listen up.
In Memphis, a long time ago, Larry Hughes was my dad's best friend. They played on the Cavs together. My mom took me to a game in Memphis. I wanted to meet LeBron, and I wanted to get a picture with him and an autograph. There was a lot of people back there, and he was like, I'm out, I gotta go. And I got in the car and started crying. But we cool now.
He asked me for my autograph and I didn't give it to him? When was that?
I was like, I love it.
That's why you dunked on me, though? Yeah. That's why you dunked on me in the conference finals?
It's the get back.
And by the way, that's when you had that haircut. That's the last time you had that haircut.
Let me ask you a question. You guys ever been stiffed by an athlete? You know, asking for a picture, asking for an autograph that jumps out to you? Because there's one that really broke my heart. I wasn't asking for an autograph. I was just asking for a picture.
None that stand out. I've been very lucky, and then I think times that they said no, I just wasn't a huge scrum of people, so didn't expect much. So
like,
no.
I'm not a big autograph guy anymore. I'm not. You know, I'm just worried about...
you're an adult.
Well, I'm also worried about getting the person on the show. You know, picture, I think, to me, is personally more valuable than an autograph, even though money-wise, I understand why it wouldn't be. Nico, you ever been rejected by an athlete?
No, not that I can recall.
So, one that I remember is I was in an airport going to one of these Super Bowls. And I want to say I was still in college. And Teddy Bruschi was at the baggage carousel. And I'm a huge Patriot fan, huge Teddy Bruschi fan. And I, started a little conversation with him for 30 seconds. With me, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I get a picture? And he was like, yeah, I do. I'm not taking pictures. And I'm a huge Bruschi fan. And that just made me very annoyed. Very agitated.
Does that change your perception of him now?
Yeah, a little bit. I'll talk up Vince Wilfork more. I'll talk up Rodney Harrison more. Ty Law more. Mike Vrabel a little bit more. I'm a little miffed by that, but everyone's entitled to a bad day. All righty, we'll take a timeout. Off my blister, there is a good Gelb family story that actually relates to Bob Saget, because I did see that EJ in the chat, not Elijah Stewart, but EJ did post, I got blisters on me fingers. There is a Gelb family story to that actually incorporates a late, great Bob Saget. We'll do that on the other side. Also, a little interesting interaction with Jordan Love, the media, and media handlers. I have been in that spot before where the media handler steps in and says, no, you can't ask that. Well, let's hear how it sounded with Jordan Love. We'll get to that on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show. Very fun hour number one. We got 2 more hours to play. Keep it locked with us right here on the Infinity Sports Network, SiriusXM Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and always streaming live on YouTube.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show, hour number 2 of our radio program. So I did go to the golf range earlier this morning at Chelsea Piers. I woke up actually early for me. I got up at 8 a.m. today, which I usually get up at 9 o'clock during the week. But I got up at 8 a.m. today, quickly put on a pair of shorts, new pair of underwear, some socks, and a T-shirt. And I had a 9 a.m. Golf range appointment and working on a new swing. And I have my golf glove on. And usually when I have the golf glove on, I don't get a blister on my finger. But I somehow got a blister on my thumb. So I was saying that in the last hour. And that sparked one of our listeners to put the great line from Ringo Starr once where he screams out, "I got blisters on me fingers." And that leads to a story right here that actually involves that line and a little Gelb family storyline. So my family has some interesting characters. One of my cousins was a writer on Boy Meets World. My uncle Michael is a great juggler, and he's also an author. He's wrote some books on Leonardo da Vinci, and he gets like flown all around the world and does like conferences and is a really smart dude. So through my uncle Michael's juggling career, my dad, right, that's his older brother, he picked up on juggling when he was a kid. And my uncle Michael, how about this? He once opened for the Rolling Stones. He juggled before a Rolling Stones concert. So my dad picked up juggling, and my dad's a very good juggler. Like, whenever I was a kid growing up, young birthday party, 7 or 8 years old, my dad would juggle. My dad could juggle 3 apples at a time and eat one of the apples while he's juggling the other 2. And, like, he could pick up benches and, like, balance them on his nose. You ever see those large, like, pool cleaner things? You know, that you sweep out or scoop out the leaves and all the dirt in the pool?
Like a skimmer?
Yeah. You could find the biggest, what is it called? A skimmer?
Skimmer, yeah.
You could find the biggest skimmer on the planet. Bob Gelb could balance that on his nose. So I didn't know that my dad would once spit fire. Like, that was part of the act that he would do. So my dad has a friend from a sleepaway camp by the name of Sam Domsky. Sam was very good, close personal friends with Bob Saget. So when Sam and Bob Saget were both younger, they both had comedic aspirations. So I think Sam went to Penn, and Bob Saget is obviously a Temple alum. So they would go, I think it was this place called Harry's Coffee House in Philadelphia. And they would do a act, like a comedy act. So Sam asked my dad more than a few times, can you open up for us? Juggle, spitfire, and all that. Well, there was asbestos on the ceiling. So my dad was spitting fire at one show before Saget is about to come out onto the stage. And it shot up onto the ceiling and back into his face. So my dad had to get rushed to the hospital. Now, they continued the show. That happened now. The whole show would be canceled. Everyone would be kicked out of the venue. And Saget, when he was walking out, quickly comes up with a line that a lot of people just didn't get in the reference. He touches the ceiling and he goes, "I got blisters on me fingers." And then they continue to do the show. So, all these years later, Bob Saget is in this building. My dad works in sales here. And Bob Saget is promoting, I think, some Broadway show that he was involved in. And he was doing a chat with Boomer and Gio on WFAN and the CBS Sports Network. And then afterwards, because like when you're promoting these things, you promote them to anyone that will listen. Bob went to the sales meeting here, Bob Saget. So there's a sales meeting here of like 100 of our salespeople in the theater here. And Bob is doing this whole routine, Bob Saget. And my dad raises his hand and he goes, "Oh, Bob, before you go, I have a question." He goes, "Oh, yeah, I'll take questions." And he goes, "You'll remember me because I once juggled for you through Sam Domsky at Harry's Coffee's house. And before my dad could even finish the story, he's like, 'You're Bob?' And he remembered it. And they didn't see each other for all those years, never had any contact. This is like probably 8 years ago, I want to say, or so. So he's telling the whole story. And he does the "I got blisters on me fingers" line. And he goes, "What's your last name? Like Kelp or something like that?" It ends up being Gelb, so pretty good memory. And then you see this video. He demands to take a selfie with my dad, Bob, the late, great Bob Saget, and then sends it to Sam Domsky, who's one of my dad's close personal friends. So the whole blister on my finger and then someone just putting that in the YouTube chat, "I got blisters on me fingers," does lead to story time there, I guess, as Brian in the YouTube chat says with Uncle Zach. So That's a story right there. What do you think the craziest part there is, Samter, when you go through the Gelb family history? One of my cousins being a writer for Boy Meets World, my Uncle Michael once opening for the Rolling Stones juggling, or my dad back in the day spitting fire and almost burning his face off when Bob Saget was relatively unknown. What's the craziest out of those three?
I mean, not necessarily the fact that it was your relative doing this, but the fact that the Rolling Stones had a juggling act to open. Like, for example, I'm seeing Green Day in 3 weeks. Opening is Rancid and Smashing Pumpkins. It's not like Joe the Juggler.
Not Michael Gelb.
No, it's not like a guy spinning plates on his chin or like a dog jumping through hoops.
Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised that the Rolling Stones, one of the all-time greatest touring bands and bands in general in the history of the world, had a juggler to open up a show. That's a shock to me.
Now, Santa's a huge, and I mean a huge, Green Day fan. And we've talked about this before on the air. But you would have thought like Samter's safety was at risk when we were at the Sphere for U2, and we get this alert and we find out that the Madden party is having Green Day go there. And Samter, who didn't really give a rat's ass about U2 and saw everything he needed to see with the Sphere, which is so damn cool. Samter, I'll say this nicely, directing the cab driver was a sight I've never seen. And one of the more uncomfortable moments of my life, because the cab driver thought he knew a shorter way and ended up being a much longer way. And the cab driver just had no clue where he was going. And Samter, let's just say, kind of a freak out, like a little bit of a Karen moment for Michael Samter there.
No, it's not a Karen moment. I wasn't asking for his supervisor or his manager, but I was freaking out. I did lose my mind. That was impatient, pissed off Samter. Like, your job as a cab driver is to know a city, is to know not to drive down Las Vegas Boulevard on the middle of, a big Friday night when there's the Super Bowl in town or Thursday night. Just don't do it. Don't be an idiot. The guy was an idiot. And we were literally on the road to our hotel with not a single car in front of us. He turned off the road, went down Tropicana, then went down Las Vegas Boulevard. And I'm like, what are you doing? He added 15 minutes to our time. My favorite Green Day song is Jesus of Suburbia. That was their second song. So we missed American Idiot, and we missed half of my favorite song.
Now, I've seen Green Day before.
I've seen them 7 times before, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, so I wasn't devastated, even though I love American Idiot.
It was also a very small venue.
But it was such an intimate venue.
Yeah.
It was 500 people.
Yeah.
And I looked to my right at one point, and I see Perloff was there, and even Perloff was dancing. And he was doing like the fat guy in a little coat, even though he's not fat. But you get the point. Like that, those are the Perloff dance moves. If you had to just turn your head and you see Perloff, he was doing like the fat guy in a little coat dance.
And at one point, I found EJ. Me and EJ stood front row.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was like 2 feet away from touching Green Day's feet.
Jeez. Hey.
I mean, it was close.
Are you trying to get an OnlyFans picture or something like that for them?
Hey. Think about the money that you can get by selling Billy Joe Armstrong's feet.
You and EJ really got right up to the front. Like I was 10 rows back, and I was fine. I thought it was so sick. I was not going. And also, I'm a very tall individual, so I would feel very uncomfortable if I started standing in the first or second row in a venue that is that small.
Yeah, I guess it's one of the benefits of being short is while I can't see over tall people, nobody minds if I go in front of them on any concert because they're not going to have to worry about seeing over me.
We are actually going back to Vegas, and that will be August 22nd and August 23rd. Circa Casino, great casino out there, and their stadium swim is unbelievable. They are having us go out there, our show, and we'll be broadcasting there the 22nd and the 23rd of August. So I'm looking forward to that. 120 degrees probably in Vegas, dry heat. And I am going to make sure that we don't get in a taxi with Samter.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. As long as we're not, rushing between concerts, you should be fine getting into a taxi with me. At the end of the day, though, I don't think I'm leaving the hotel once. The hotel is gorgeous.
Well, we got to go to our favorite Italian restaurant there.
Yeah, fine. I'll go to Piero's. That'll be the end of it. We'll hang out with Sully. Maybe I'll go get a nice pair of kicks or something from Sully's
I don't think
guy.
Sully's going to be there that weekend.
Well, then I'm not going. Cancel my trip. Cancel the tickets. I'm not going if Sully's not there.
Well, I have a busy week that week. So that Sunday, so I'm born on the 9th. One of my closest friends is born my first childhood friend is born on August 14th. So the day we were both doing something, because I am actually ordaining a wedding, one of my other best friend's wedding. I was in the wedding. They asked me to marry them. So I'm doing that.
Like officiate the wedding.
Yeah, officiate the
Not
wedding.
to marry them in polygamy style.
I don't know why you have to go there.
You said to marry them.
Well, actually, so my one of my good friend's mother is a stereotypical Jewish mother. And I could say that because I'm Jewish. And she is running around the town going, you know, Zach, or let me do her voice properly. I'm doing my grandmother's voice. She's like, you know, Zach is, he's marrying my son, Jason. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not marrying your son, Jason. And she is involved in the media sales world. And she told one of the salesperson, and he goes, I didn't know you were getting married. I'm like, I'm not. I am doing the ceremony for her son and his soon-to-be wife. So that is the weekend of my 30th birthday. So the next weekend, I'm celebrating my 30th birthday. But my other friend, who's my first childhood friend, Spencer, he is on the 14th. That's his birthday. And his wife, I think, is the day after. So they were using that Saturday, which I didn't know, to celebrate their 30th. So I'm celebrating my 30th on that Saturday. I'm going to Fogo de Chao. And then on Sunday, I'm getting on a 7 a.m. flight with my buddy Spencer so we could celebrate our birthdays together. I am flying to Pittsburgh to see Bruce Springsteen and the legendary E Street Band on Sunday night. Then getting up early Monday morning, flying back. I'm off that Monday. I'm working Tuesday. Then Wednesday, remember when I took off last year to go see Springsteen and I drove to Philly and the show got canceled? Well, this is the makeup show on Wednesday. That Wednesday of that week. So that Wednesday, I'm going to see Springsteen. Then I'm going to stay in a hotel in Newark, New Jersey. And then I'm going to get up early Thursday morning and fly out to Vegas and join you in Vegas. So that's going to be a crazy 4 or 5 day stretch.
You know, my birthday's August 14th as well.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Things we didn't care about, but now that we know. No, I'm just kidding, Nico. So that's all the Vegas and the Gelb family stories and all that jazz. Anywho, let me play a Jordan Love. So Jordan Love, where was this at? This at a charity event, a football camp?
It's at a football camp. He actually starts off this cut talking about a football camp he went to as a kid.
So either his agents or people running the PR for the camp told the media, don't ask about his contract, which is just so ridiculous. And this is why I'm surprised about this, because I've had Jordan Love on during the Aaron Rodgers situation on this show, and he knew how to handle every one of those questions. So I don't understand why you're making media availability, why you wouldn't allow the media to answer or ask questions to Jordan Love about his contract. And like Jordan Love could just be like, hey, we're not talking about that, and that's it. But these PR people, they're so stupid sometimes. Because when you interrupt or you end the press conference, it makes it a bigger deal. Like when I had Debo on and Debo passed his phone to the PR person, he hung up on us. I didn't hold that against the PR person. But when I had Aaron Donald on after the helmet swinging incident, Aaron Donald was answering my questions by basically giving me nothing. And then the PR person stepped in. And that's when it blew up. So this is Jordan Love at his this is one of his events, right? Or football camp. And they ended the press conference or the media availability after questions about his contract with Jordan Love entering the final year of his deal.
My hometown, Derek Carr and David Carr both had a camp that I went to as a kid. So that was something that, impacted me at a young age. And that's something I definitely look forward to being able to do now that I'm in the same position as them.
Brian Goodickin says he hopes to have a contract extension done with you before the start of camp. Do you wish to say?
Oh, come on.
Nope. All right. News to come.
Nope. Sorry. No. That's it.
All right.
I'm just telling you, whether those are his agents or the PR people associated with the event, you can't be dumber. Jordan Love gets asked about his contract situation there and probably just says, hey, my agents are taking care of that. I have nothing to do with it. They can go ask 3 or 4 more questions, the media, and sure, there will be clips out there, Jordan Love talking about his contract situation, but it really wouldn't blow up because he would have said nothing. But the moment when those dopes jump in and they're like, nope, that's when it becomes a story. Like, Jordan Love is a grown man. Jordan Love, who has handled much worse situations like being the backup to Aaron Rodgers, knows how to handle that. I've interviewed Love before. I've asked him every question possible about Aaron Rodgers. He gave you nothing. Because either he's a really smart dude or he's really well media trained, or both. And I love Jordan Love. Very likable guy. I love the way that he handled the Rodgers situation. I think it earned him a lot of respect in the locker room. But you're a professional quarterback. You could be a big boy there and answer the questions, even if you give the media nothing. But these PR people always think they know what to do and they know what's best. The moment you end it for just asking a simple question, I don't care what they told them or not before. Hey, don't ask a question. Who cares? That's ridiculous. It really is. Like, Santa, you've been around a long time doing this, with dealing with some good PR people and some dopey PR people. That I just don't get.
No, listen, I understand 100% what you're saying, that by doing what they did, it makes the story a bigger story. However, eventually you have to draw a line in the sand, right? If you say, do not ask a question about his contract or else we're ending the press conference, the moment somebody asks the question, if you don't do something, then your words just become hollow. Okay. So you have to stand by your word. Now, maybe the mistake was saying, we'll end the press conference if you ask about the contract ahead of time. Maybe they should say just no questions, and then, just kind of hope that they don't ask questions.
Don't hold media availability. Because you know what?
But here's the thing. This wasn't the Packers press conference. This is a charity press conference. Talk about the charity stuff.
Okay, but can I just be honest here? And this may not sound right. And I don't know much about the charity event, so I don't want to speak out of tune if it's for, I'm not saying it's not for a great cause, but there's a little give and take here. If you want coverage of the charity event, the media is not just going to show up and cover your charity event and then not be able to use it for their advantage as well. Like, the media doesn't give a crap about the charity event if they don't get to go ask a few questions. So then they could write, we asked Jordan Love about his contract at his charity event. You plug the charity, you talk about the charity for a bit, and this is what he said. Like, if the media knew, I don't know if they told him this before the media got there or once they get there. But if they told him, let's say, before they got there, okay, then it's on the media for showing up. But if they wait until the media got there to cover the event and they're like, oh, yeah, before Jordan speaks, no question about the contract, it's kind of Bush League. So there's a little give and take here. Like, we get people come on all the time. Hey, can you plug this? Can you plug that? Sure, but we get to ask you a few questions. I think that's fair.
Now, the one thing I will say is maybe on a meta level, it's brilliant because maybe they knew, of course, these guys are going to ask about the contract.
So then it plugs the charity and they don't have to do anything.
Because we would be talking about this, and now maybe people are starting to look at the camp. Maybe people realize and learn about the charity. Maybe people start to, look at the clients and the company that puts on these camps called Flexwork. So at the end of the day, maybe this was their all grand scheme. We know that the people are going to ask. Let's threaten them so when they do ask, it becomes big news and people start asking about it.
I was informed by our very own Peter Schwartz, and I did not know this, that the Arena Football League is back, but it may not be back that much longer. I was getting real excited about the Arena League from something that Peter Schwartz teased to me 2 weeks ago. Now it seems like the Arena Football League is in one big fat mess. We'll discuss what and tell you what that is when we return in 5 minutes right here on the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network, and it is the Zach Gelb Show. So I did not know that the Arena Football League was still a thing. Like, when I was a kid, I actually liked the Arena Football League, and it was very family-friendly, and you could go, and if the ball went into the stands, you were able to keep the football, and, on Long Island, the New York Dragons played, and they had a great quarterback by the name of Aaron Garcia. So I haven't thought about the Arena Football League in a long time. I still didn't know that it was a thing. And Peter Schwartz, 2 weeks ago, when I was filling on the Fan, he was doing the updates, and he came up to me. He goes, "Hey, if I bring Jeff Fisher in studio, would you put him on?" And I said, absolutely. Like, I know Jeff a little bit. He's come on the show a bunch. Would love to have him on if he's in the city and wants to come on in. I go, what's he doing? He goes, he's the interim commissioner for the Arena Football League, and they're playing their championship game in New Jersey. So I said, oh, that'd be great. And he said, yeah, I'm trying to either bring him into the morning shows here or the afternoon shows. So if they would have came to the afternoon shows here, they would have done us, and then also would have gone on with Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber. So Peter never follows back up. I'm listening to my favorite national morning radio program the other day, Maggie and Perloff, and I hear either Maggie or Andrew say, oh, Jeff Fisher's going to join us in studio. So I guess they were able to also get Boomer and Gio to put on Jeff Fisher, and they're going to do the morning. Fine, whatever. No big deal. So I read an article this morning on the PF Newsroom, and I saw our old friend Damon Amendolara, DA, was tweeting this out. And I guess Peter was doing PR for the Arena Bowl, and he was going to be the PA guy, the announcer, for the game this weekend. So I'm like, what happened to Arena Football? Because I saw DA tweet out like, oh, the Arena League is now a bleep show. So because of the whole Peter Schwartz connection, I'm like, oh, let me click on this story and read it via the PF Newsroom. So here's the article. The Arena Football League was set to have their Arena Bowl this Friday between the Albany Firebirds and the Billings Outlaws. After making a return to the pro football scene this year, the Arena Football League has had quite a few ups and downs throughout their inaugural season. All right, so not thinking much is going on there. I'm like, all right, where's the juicy stuff, DA? With one game left to be played, though, they might be facing their largest hurdle yet. League sources tell the Pro Football Newsroom that the AFL is seeing some major changes this week when it comes to the leadership. In addition, issuing issues stemming from financial fraud that has put the Arena Bowl game in jeopardy of even being played at all. So now I'm like, I got to keep on reading here. Financial fraud that's going to jeopardize the Arena Bowl? Which, let's be real, like, who cares about the Arena Bowl? But when you have financial fraud now, oh, geez, this is going to be something. According to a league source, the AFL CEO and chairman, Chris Chetty, whoever this guy is, has been unanimously voted out of the league by the 8 team owners left. We learned that Chris stole over $110,000 from a fellow employee's credit card, which has resulted in the AFL officials and owners stepping in to remove him from his position. In addition to said fraud, Chetty's mismanagement of funds has put the AFL in massive debt to the American Dream Entertainment Retail Center. That's where the venue is where the Arena Bowl is currently slated to be played. But with the latest development, it appears they pulled the plug entirely on hosting the Arena Bowl. We received a statement from a senior league official on that matter. Quote, after repeated efforts to recoup the hundreds of thousands of dollars promised by Chris Chetty, American Dream has pulled the plug on the AFL. Chris Chetty has continually broken promises and has left us with no other option. Chetty was unable to attend meetings and Arena Bowl preparations due to being denied entry into the United States. Close quotes. So what else is going on with that guy? So now, there's an update here to this article. James Larson, who I guess wrote this article. The American Dream does tentatively plan to go ahead with the Arena Bowl if the AFL pays them in full, which remains to be seen. A team source participating in the AFL Championship says if the venue is paid, they're still willing to let us play. Bottom line, according to James Larson, late payments have been a theme for the AFL this year, and it might cost them their final game. If they can't come up with the money they need, American Dream originally planned to pull the plug, but is willing to keep the game on schedule. The league can pull it together sooner than later. So this is screwing over Peter Schwartz. This is screwing over the Arena Football League. And think about it this way, too. Peter, right, booked Jeff Fisher on all these shows. I think this is for tomorrow. If the game's on Friday, it would be for tomorrow. I'm just going out on a limb here. I don't think Jeff Fisher, who's the interim commissioner of the Arena Football League, is going to be going on all these shows. I will actually be shocked. He should, right? Because it's more attention for the Arena Bowl. Now, I don't think this is the attention that they wanted, but this gets people at least talking about it. This happened in our own backyard. We have no damn clue. Seriously, we didn't have any damn clue this was going on until Peter said something. But now, because of this alleged fraud issue, it looks like, and I feel bad for Peter, but Peter, who we all love here, he's like stressing now because he told all these shows he was going to bring Jeff Fisher on. And I have a tough time thinking that Jeff who is the interim commissioner and doesn't need to do this. I have a tough time thinking Jeff is going to go on all these shows tomorrow and really like inspire and rally the troops to get a lot of attention to the Arena Bowl.
So I will tell you this. I used to work in arena football.
Of course.
I worked for the Arizona Rattlers for 3 years, from 2007 to 2010.
What did you do?
This is how the Arena League works.
Were you the mascot?
No.
Oh.
I was basically the director of football operations.
Wait.
Yes.
You were the director of football operations?
Not officially by title.
For the Arizona Arena Football League?
Not officially by title, but that was basically the role I served. I handled the contracts. I handled the player development.
You negotiated the contracts?
So the contracts for the Arena League at the time were a set contract. You couldn't really negotiate. Like I think like one or two players on the team were able to be designated to be like high level, and then they got X number, and then everybody else got Y number.
Hold on. So if some big player was annoyed, he would come voice his concerns with you?
I handled every single player concern.
Oh, my God.
I dealt with every one of the players' issues. I was in charge of all of the video, of all of the media.
Was there one player that was a pain in the ass that you recall?
There were a couple who were but they were like nice guys. There was a dude named Daryl Shropshire who was just a badass, and
Good
then
football name.
Antej Hawthorne who played for Wisconsin. Another dude named Alex. What's the name of Tom Brady's guy?
Alex Guerrero?
Yes, same name, different guy. Okay. Alex Guerrero, great dude. There was some really good. Nick Davila was the quarterback.
Okay,
a lot of great dudes. Whatever, and obviously like Kurt Warner was always around. You know, the Arena League, whatever. But at the time, right? So Danny White was our GM. Our head coach was a guy named Kevin Guy, who's won multiple arena championships. And at the time, it was just a bleep show. Like, I was in charge of, like, handling player contracts. I was doing the videos for all the practices and media. I was handling transportation for the players.
How'd you get this job? What did you think this job was going to be?
Well, I started as an intern. Then the league in 2007. Then the league folded for a year.
And they brought you back?
Came back a year later, and then everyone else who was, like, in those positions left to have other jobs for the year.
Well, you really screwed up your career. You had this big, powerful position in the Arena Football League. You could have like gone on to be like a general manager in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think that you understand how much of a bleep show it was. Me being the director of player personnel at the time, it was not what you expected.
Writes itself.
There was basically an equipment manager, a trainer, the GM, the head coach, and the coaching staff, and me. And then like, a couple like front office kind of like, secretaries and whatever else.
Okay.
So even then, it was a bleep show. Then, like, the Arena League folded again. There's the Indoor Football League. So a lot of the big teams.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, the Arizona Rattlers are there, right? The San Antonio Gunslingers are there, right? The Green Bay Blizzard are there. The Massachusetts Pirates, the Iowa Barnstormers, which was Kurt Warner's team. They're in the Indoor Football League. They've been around for a long time. The Jacksonville Sharks are a big team also. Mm-hmm. The Arena League, this new iteration, has been even more of a bleep show than what you can even imagine. Before the season even started, they were supposed to have 16 teams. Multiple teams. Half of the league folded before the season started. They only had 8 teams this year.
Wow.
A month
Wasn't
before...
Antonio Brown like an owner of one of these teams?
That was a third Arena League. That may have been the Indoor Arena League. That may have been the Albany team or something else.
I think I'm going to I think I'm going to buy the Arena League and I'm going to make you Santa the commissioner.
It was absolutely a joke. A month before the season started, they had a deal with the NFL Network and I believe ESPN2 to air some of the games.
Yeah, sure.
A month before the season started, their TV contracts fell apart. Wow. So none of the games were actually televised. This has been absolutely a joke since the very second that the Arena League tried to come back. If you want to watch arena football, watch the Indoor Football League. That's been around since 2008. It's got the best teams. It's got the best
teams. Just watch the NFL and college football, and who gives a rat's ass about every other league?
Okay, if you've never seen arena football, it's awesome. It is much
when I was
fun.
like 7.
No, it's still cool. It is such a fun event to watch. Listen, it's not college football and the NFL the way we watch it.
Yeah, so fun. They may not even be able to host their championship game.
It's because the leadership of the Arena Football League they're a joke. They're terrible. Okay. And this is what's been happening. And like what's happening now, nobody should be surprised because of what's been going on.
I actually hope that they go through with the media tour tomorrow with Jeff Fisher because Peter Schwartz is the head PR guy for this. And you know Jeff Fisher's not going to be happy with this questions. And that could create like a little icy situation off the air with Jeff Fisher and like one of the nicest like people around in the great Peter Schwartz. So maybe Peter could scoop up Jeff Fisher's tears from the possibility of the Arena Bowl not happening and then sell them on eBay for like $4.57. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. It is a Winkler Wednesday. I hear sources tell me, like Peter Schwartz probably mad at the Arena Football League. Bart Winkler is actually mad at me. We'll find out why next. Update time first. Here he is, El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, plenty of chatter. Davante Adams reuniting with his old quarterback and Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Rodgers seemed to fuel that a bit a few days ago via Vegas Sports Today.
I think Luke Getsy's going to utilize Davante Adams good in the new Raiders offense.
I love Luke Getsy. He's a fantastic coach.
Awesome.
I love Davante. Can't wait to play with him again.
Great. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Adams' agents came out saying there's been no trade talk. Adams himself, though, seemed to leave the door open a little bit while talking to Shannon Sharp on the Club Shay Shay podcast.
I'll answer it like this. If I'm going to be reunited with anybody, it would be Aaron.
Okay.
But or be, relocated and be anywhere, it would be with Aaron.
Kalen DeBoer's first SEC day at Alabama. Looking forward to working with his new quarterback, Jalen Milroe.
Jalen's super talented, when it comes to down the field throws, which are not easy. He was one of the best in the country. He and Michael both were two of the top of I think 3 or 4 in the country when it came to accuracy, efficiency.
Obviously referring to Michael Penix, who was with DeBoer last year at Washington before he was taken in the first round by the Falcons. And Team USA now 3-0, getting ready for the Olympics. They roll Serbia 105-79. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's an epic battle for the Infinity Sports Network. Zach.
Lethargic, putrid, pathetic quitters. They're quitters. What a joke.
Bart.
Something fun to talk about. That's what we do here. It's like, hey, guys, it's like we're just hanging out at a bar talking sports.
It's time for Winkler Wednesday. Only on the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, rockin' and rollin'. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. The great Bart Winkler from the Bart Winkler Show. Weeknights, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time is here with us, and a source tells me that Bart is not that thrilled with me today, Bart. So, how are you?
Who's your source? Me? I'm your source.
Are you my source? I don't know. I talked to a lot of people, but it has come across my desk that you saw my top 10 quarterback list, which had Patrick Mahomes 1, Joe Burrow 2, Josh Allen 3, Lamar Jackson 4, C.J. Stroud 5, Aaron Rodgers 6, Matthew Stafford 7, where I then said 1 through 7 has to be in every top 10. And then after that, I said, like, there's 8 or 9 QBs for the final 3 spots, and the 3 quarterbacks I'm going with. In at number 8, Jalen Hurts. In at number 9, Justin Herbert. And 10, Mr. Rock Out with your Brock Out, Brock Purdy. So what are you annoyed about?
Where's Jordan Love?
Jordan Love was in consideration. I think at the end of the year, Jordan Love will probably be in the top 10. But with Jordan Love, he was awesome for the second half of the season. I would just like to see him put it together for the entirety of the season. I think the world of Jordan Love. It's not anti-Jordan Love, but there's a lot of very good quarterbacks, and I only got 10 spots.
I feel like Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud need to be together in any order. Any of these lists, they both had a good year last year. Mm-hmm. There's still a level of, can you show me again kind of thing. Obviously, one was a rookie last year. Jordan Love had 3 years under Rodgers.
Both were basically rookies, to be fair. In his first true year
So I don't understand why everyone's so willing to put C.J. Stroud on these lists and not Jordan.
Well, the Green Bay Packers are football royalty. They just pump out Hall of Fame quarterbacks that win one Super Bowl. And C.J. Stroud was taking over an organization that was picking in the top 3 for back-to-back years and were the laughingstock or one of the laughingstocks of the league. It instantly made them division champions. So that's why I have a lot of confidence in C.J. Stroud.
The Packers had 6 wide receivers that had a combined maybe 6 catches in their career.
Sure.
And Jordan Love has made good weapons out of all of them.
No, I'm not anti-Jordan Love, to be clear. But I did have a lot of Packers fans that were in my mention, and there was a time where everyone in Milwaukee and this great state of Wisconsin would love me. It would be like, oh, you're the one national voice that would always come and defend Milwaukee and also the entire state of Wisconsin with all the sports teams. And today, people are like, oh, you hate Jordan Love. I don't hate Jordan Love. Jared Goff's not on that list either. There's a lot of good quarterbacks, and I only have 10 spots.
Could I give you my list?
Yeah, I'll take your list in just a second. But before we get to your list, did you see Jordan Love at the charity event and his team stepped in when they were asked about the contract situation? They prevented those questions from being asked. Did you see that?
What I understand about that situation, and I know the reporter who asked the question, is that they had a limited amount of time to get questions, and it was ending. And so as it was ending, she threw it out there. So it wasn't like the Packers are going, oh, no, we got to stop this immediately. Okay. It seemed to be a situation based on what she has said that she knew it was ending anyway. Everyone else got their questions in. She had to do her job and still ask the questions. So but that's what it's
the minute when it's asked, you would have thought it was like the worst crime committed, like jumped in right away. Well, hey, you can't ask that. This is over with.
That's the weird thing about some of these events is you're going to have this was a football camp that he was at. So they think, whoever they think, all right, reporters are going to come here and just ask about the football camp. Who was the Orioles, the old Orioles owner? He finally had some appearance a couple of years ago, and he was giving answers, and people are like, hey, by the way, you run the team like garbage. Can we ask you? Not here. Well, you're not giving us any other opportunity. So you know how it works. You get these people in front of a camera and a microphone. They can try not to as much as they want. They're going to get
Here's what I don't get, though. Jordan Love went through the Aaron Rodgers situation, and he never spoke out of line. He said everything perfectly. To me, just let the question be asked. Let him respond. He gives you pretty much a non-answer, and no one's even talking about it.
Yeah, and I do think that this is going to get resolved anyway fairly soon. They open camp on Monday, I believe.
You think he gets a new deal before the start of the season?
I mean, we're getting close, but I think he does.
Okay. And by the start of the season, I mean week 1, not training camp.
Start of season for sure. Start of season for sure.
Gotcha. And I have no problem. I think the Packers ended up being right once again. So who's your top 10 list? What do you got for me?
So one is Jordan Love would be the best. All right, number 1, and it's more sexy to start at 1, right, to go down to see who's not on the list.
Okay.
1 is Patrick Mahomes.
Shocker. Okay.
2 through 4, take your pick. I go Lamar, Josh, and then Burrow.
You go Lamar, Josh, and then Burrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP, but, struggles in the postseason. Burrow's been to a Super Bowl, but okay. It's your list. Go ahead.
I think the world of Lamar. Number 5, despite his 500 record, I go Justin Herbert. Number 6, huge omission by you, if I may say. Dak Prescott.
No, sorry.
Yep. Number 7 is Jalen Hurts. Number 8 is Jordan Love. Number 9 is CJ Stroud. And then number 10, I wrestled with this one, but I will put Brock Purdy at number 10.
So there are 2 egregious errors on your list. And I know you hate Aaron Rodgers, but you asked the Cowboys, for this season, would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott? The Cowboys are absolutely taking Aaron Rodgers over Dak Prescott.
I don't know. Here, I'll tell you why I left Aaron Rodgers off. Real answer is because I despise the man. Yeah. But the answer that I will give you is I've seen, so in the last year and a half of the world, we've seen him play not at all. We saw him come in for 4 plays. Okay. And the last game I saw him play was against the Lions, where he was atrocious. He was very bad. His interceptions were very bad. I suppose there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers can be a top 10 quarterback easy. But there's also a chance that Deshaun Watson can be a top 10 quarterback again.
So let me ask
you this. You're basing it off what these guys were at one point.
And to be clear, I had Joe Burrow as the second quarterback. But Joe Burrow got hurt last year, season-ending injury.
Burrow and Allen and Lamar, I mean, that's just like...
But how do you not have Stafford in your top 10?
Stafford, Goff, I don't know.
Stafford
these guys
won
are all,
a Super Bowl.
They're all good. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league.
I would rather have Stafford over Dak easily.
I think Dak is a better quarterback than Matt Stafford.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think Dak gets a lot of criticism because they stink in the playoffs, which is, that's a barometer.
Well, he's very good. Now, neither of us had Tua Tagovailoa on the list.
Yeah, I thought of Tua towards the end there, but I think that Purdy deserves a spot over him.
Which I'm surprised because you've been very critical about Brock Purdy, if memory serves me right here. So I'm surprised.
Yeah, but when I got to 10, it's Purdy or Tua, Purdy or Stafford, Purdy or Rodgers.
No, your list is who can I justify so I don't have to put Rodgers there. That's your list.
I should have kept Purdy off too, but I gave him a bone.
I'm not surprised by you, but I am surprised by you that Rodgers.
I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to learn. I'm always trying to capture wisdom.
What happens if Aaron Rodgers has a great season this year? How are you going to handle that? I'm concerned about you.
Oh, you should be. I'm a wreck, an absolute wreck in all facets of life. That I put on a mask for the 4 hours I do my show. How will I handle it? Probably very poorly.
It seems like you are worried, though. I feel like you're aggressively getting your shots out now at Aaron Rodgers because I think you have the feeling down deep that you're not going to be able to do so in December and January.
I feel like he could be good, but not to the level he was. He will not be close to MVP, and I would still put him outside top 10.
Gotcha. All righty. He is the great Bart Winkler. You can listen to him tonight, weeknights, on the Infinity Sports Network from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time. He is a football lover. He is a kind man, but more importantly, an Aaron Rodgers hater. That's what I learned from all this. Thank you, Bart.
Thank you.
There he is. Bart Winkler with us. Rich Gannon's going to stop by 25 minutes from now. We'll preview the Raiders. But when we come on back, we got to do a little college football playoff draft. We'll draft the 12 teams that will make the college football playoff this year. And also, I have some sound from an Alabama player talking about Nick Saban and a prediction he made. Next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Yo, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, hour number 3 of our radio program. Rich Gannon's going to stop by 20 minutes from now. We will continue our NFL preview, and we will preview the Raiders with the former Raider quarterback. We're going to do a little draft here. It's a college football playoff draft. So 12 teams, 4 picks for me, 4 picks for Nico, and 4 picks for Moist Mike. Here are the parameters. You have to have 5 conference champions that get in. So the way that it works in this new format, the 5 highest ranked conference champions automatically get into the 12 teams. So from my understanding, 4 of the highest ranked conference champions will get the bye. Then 5 through 12 will play on out. And that will be the other conference champion, so probably the G5 representative, the Group of 5 representative, and then all the other schools in the Power 5, or now the Core 4, or whatever you want to call it, because the Pac-12 isn't really a thing anymore. So, with the first pick, Damn, this is difficult. I'm picking out of a windscreen, and it is a small windscreen, and I have large fingers. So that was a difficult squeeze. Let's see. I put down a Z, an N, and an M. It is a Z. So I will have the first pick. The second pick. Oh, I actually put down an S. That's for Samter. And then, this would mean that the third pick, just to get it right, would be Nico. The Z and the N could be a little confusing, depending on which way I hold it. I don't know if I did that right. But anyway, that's what happened. So, let's get to it right now. We will do the 12-team draft. I have the first pick. Samter has the second pick. Nico has the third pick. I will start off. And this is the team that is has the highest odds to win the national championship. They will be representing the SEC. I will denote them as the SEC champion. That is the Georgia Bulldogs with one Carson Beck and Kirby Smart. I will take Georgia with the first selection. Going out on a limb there with the first pick.
I'll be honest. I think you are going out on a limb a little bit. They are the best team in college football, as they probably were last year also. But the SEC is loaded. Yeah. From a percentage standpoint, the clear number one pick, if you're just predicting and drafting right now, is Ohio State because the Big Ten is not nearly as competitive as the SEC. Georgia is the best team, but if they lose a couple games and they end up not, some of these other amazing SEC teams sneaking ahead of them, I wouldn't be overly shocked. But yeah, I mean,
let's be clear.
They're pretty safe, I'm sure.
We're trying to see who gets the most college football playoff teams in. Yeah. You're taking Ohio State, I'm taking Georgia. Something would have to go really wrong in this world for either one of those teams to miss.
Sure, but it's more likely for Georgia to miss than for Ohio State just because of how competitive the SEC is.
In 12 teams, Georgia's not missing.
You're probably
Ryan
right.
Day could wake up and have a nightmare of seeing Jim Harbaugh, and they could go lose to some slap-you-know-what team.
I'm just saying, if it's 100% that Ohio State makes it, it's 99.8% that Georgia makes it.
There's a 0% chance that Georgia misses the playoff.
Oh, interesting.
Even with their tough schedule. They have a difficult schedule.
Very tough schedule.
All righty, Nico, you got 2 picks here. Give me your first one.
Yeah, so I actually like having the 3 pick here because I think we all agree there's 4 teams that we all consider locks, right?
Yes. And to be clear, you don't have to pick the conference champion yet. So if you had it doesn't have to be SEC, Big Ten. So now Nico has to take an ACC or Big 12. Just by the end of 12, we have to make sure we have those parameters done. Just to be clear.
Right. So with that being said, I'm going to go with. I guess it doesn't really matter which order, but I'll go Texas and Oregon with my 2 picks.
Gotcha. Okay, that kind of does make sense right there. I would order them Oregon and then Texas, but I do believe that all 4 of those teams that we just said will be in the college football playoff. Okay, what do we got next? Samter.
So this might be my first mini wild card. I mean, the preseason rankings has them high, and they do have a good quarterback coming in on a transfer. But they always seem to fall short in big games, and they are an independent, so they're not locked in if they win a conference. But I'm going to go Notre Dame. Right, I think the SEC and the Big Ten are so strong that you could pick 8 different teams from the SEC to get in outside of Georgia and Texas, and none or all could get in. So I'm going Notre Dame with my second-round pick to be a little bit safer.
Gotcha. So still no ACC representative, still no Big 12 representative. I will take Alabama. Kalen DeBoer, the new head football coach, just took Washington to the national championship game where they lost to Michigan. Year 1 success for Kalen DeBoer. Just be one of the 12 teams. With Jalen Milroe returning, I think they will be one of the 12 teams. Hey, by the way, I want to play this. So Nick Saban was on the ESPN yesterday, and now he's an analyst there. And Nick Saban gave his SEC championship game prediction, and it was Georgia against Texas. So offensive lineman of the Crimson Tide at Alabama, Tyler Booker, had this to say about Nick Saban's prediction. Listen up.
He would get mad at me if I felt the way about what he said, because he always used to say, don't let some guy that lives in the house, live in their mom's basement, determine how you feel. So I'm not going to let a guy who play golf all day determine how I feel.
That's amazing. And I think 2 things here. 1, that is Nick Saban's honest opinion that it's going to be Texas against Georgia in the SEC championship game, or 2, which I think is more likely, what did Nick Saban always say when he was at Alabama? Don't let rat poison impact you. Now, usually with programs, ignoring the noise is when people are saying something critical about you. But the rat poison, in all likelihood, most times Alabama, because it's so great, oh, they're a lock to win the national championship game. Oh, they're a lock to win the SEC. Oh, they're a lock to be in the SEC championship game. I think he is still motivating some of his former players. Oh, I'm on ESPN now. I'm Alabama royalty. I'm the god of Alabama football. And I'm still going to try to coach and play these mind games with my former players to draw a little extra motivation out of them. That's what I think is really likely there. Okay. So no representative yet from the ACC. No representative from the Big 12. So should I pick another SEC team? Should I pick another Big 10 team with this selection? Or should I leave the Big 12 and ACC, take one of those spots? I am going to take... See, I could now be smart here. I still have 2 more picks to go, 1 here. So if I don't take the ACC, the Big 12, or the Group of 5 spot, I'm going to get one of those spots at the end. So I think I should take the best team available and the team that's most likely. Whew. This is tough. It's a good exercise here. See, I'm debating right now between Penn State and Ole Miss. That's what I'm debating. And Ole Miss's offense is going to be high-flying. And James Franklin always messes up in the big game, and there's questions about Drew Aller. Ooh, this is difficult. But I go to the Penn State schedule. West Virginia. Could be an upset in week 1. Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Ohio State, tough game, Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland. We are not taking Penn State. Nah, I'm going to take Penn State here. I'll go with the Nittany Lions. Yikes. Feel disgusting right now.
Go take a shower, man. I feel dirty just hearing you say that.
I'm Jewish, but I feel like I just cursed in church.
Ugh. Yeah, that hurts. That's not fun to actually have to say that out loud.
We are!
Ugh. Don't do it. Not. We are not.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to go with the conference champion I think is most likely to get in next, because the SEC, I've got 5 teams from the SEC listed here that any one of them could be the next one, so it's a risk, right? You can swap and switch them. So I'm going Florida State with DJ Uiagalelei. I believe in Mike Norvell. That's a team that's coming back with a lot of talent. And if Uiagalelei can show that improvement, I think Florida State is going to run away with the ACC, and that's an automatic bid right there.
That actually may be one of my favorite college football games of the season on the schedule. Like, I know Florida State and Clemson are both in the ACC, but I wouldn't consider it a rivalry. Like you say, Michigan, Ohio State, rivalry, right? Red River, Texas, Oklahoma, rivalry. October 5th, Florida State, Clemson. That's a game that I'm not going to miss. That's going to be a fun one. So,
and don't forget, 3 weeks later on November 9th, 4 weeks later against Notre Dame at Notre Dame.
Who?
Florida State.
Oh, Florida State at Notre Dame? Yeah, it's fun.
That's going to be a fun one.
But I want to see DJ Uiagalelei smack Dabo Swinney on the field and then off the field, walking off the field.
You know what's going to happen? Dabo is just going to stick it right into our mouths this year. That came out wrong.
Take it easy there.
Make us stick our foot in our mouths is what I meant to say. That came off really bad. Let's rewind that tape. He's going to make us stick our foot in our mouths. Dabo Swinney's a damn good coach. I know he doesn't use the transfer portal, but he's going to win games. And Clemson has been down they're going to win games. And they're going to come back eventually. He's too good of a coach and too good of a recruiter.
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever you
Stick
say.
our foot in our mouths.
Yes. Whatever you want. Nico.
I don't know how I could follow that up, but
you can't. Just give us a team.
We'll go with...
So Big 12 still has not been picked yet.
Right, so that's exactly what I was thinking. Give me Cam Rising and the Utah Utes. First year in the Big 12. I don't think it's a very loaded conference, so I think there's definitely an opportunity for them to
There's a lot of good teams. I don't know if there's a great team.
Right, so I think there's a chance where they could come in and kind of just dominate right away.
Could be Kyle Whittingham's final year as well.
Also true.
And then you have that Bruce Springsteen song, Come On Up for the Rising. You could sing that with Cam Rising's name. So Utah representing the Big 12. So the only parameter still out there to finish this exercise is the other conference champion. SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12 off the board with Georgia, Ohio State, FSU, and Utah. You get one more selection, so what are you going to do?
So I really wanted to go with Ole Miss because as we did earlier in the week, we did that Heisman draft, and I took Jackson Dart as one of my picks. I'm really high on him and Lane Kiffin, but I don't think we could wait this long and not have the defending national champions be one of the teams in the college football playoff. So give me the Michigan Wolverines behind Sharon Moore in his first year at the helm.
Wouldn't that be fun? If somehow we got Michigan and Ohio State in the playoff?
Oh, that'd be something.
There's a chance in this new format that you could see Michigan play Ohio State, right? Obviously in the regular season. Then they play in the Big Ten championship one year, and then potentially in the playoff. That would be crazy.
I'm worried here. Nico's group of 4 teams so far is just stacked. He's got Oregon, Texas,
Oregon, Utah, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, he's stacked right there. I mean, those 4 I feel like locks to me to get in. Maybe not locks, but
I
maybe
can't
not
say
Utah's a lock.
I love Utah, but I can't say they're a lock because I only think one Big 12 team is probably getting in.
You're probably right, but Utah feels like just the head and shoulders best team in the conference.
And I know there's all the changes. Whoever gets picked to win the Big 12 for the year never ends up winning it, it feels like.
So I got 4 SEC teams that are interchangeable. You can go Jackson Dart.
You're not going to have some stones here? You're not going to try to stick it somewhere and go a little group of 5?
No.
Okay.
There's like 6 group of 5 teams. I don't know enough about any of them, like Liberty or UTSA,
Liberty,
or Boise, Air Force. Yeah, I know the insurance company and Limu the Emu. But you can go Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. You can go Brady Cook in Mizzou. You can go what we were talking about yesterday, and Brian Kelly in his 3rd year with LSU. You can go with Nico Iamaleava over there at Tennessee.
Say that 10 times fast.
Iamaleava, top-ranked, top 5 recruit in the country, a quarterback at Tennessee.
So who are you going with? I feel like you're naming all these schools and then you're going to go with somebody else.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You know what?
Ole Miss?
No.
Come on.
I like Lane Kiffin. I don't believe in Lane Kiffin. I love Brady Cook. I'm not buying Mizzou. Tennessee, I have to go Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's been there, done that. It's year 3 at LSU. I'm going Brian Kelly. I'm going the LSU Tigers as my next pick.
Santa's big on Brian Kelly and his family.
Brian Kelly. Give me Brian Kelly.
All right, my final pick. I'll go Chadwell squad over at Liberty. Liberty. So here are the selections for the college football playoff. Yours truly. I have Georgia, Alabama, Penn State, and Liberty. Samter has the Ohio State, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, Florida State, and Brian Kelly and his family at LSU. And Nico has Texas, Oregon, Utah, and Michigan. Fun exercise right there. We'll take a time out. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, we'll preview the Raiders. Not with Stuart Kovacs, but we'll do so with Rich Gannon.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Football season is right around the corner.
Holding himself, runs to the left, he's to the 5, Lamar's in, touchdown Ravens. They're going to have a championship game in Baltimore because they hate the barn.
Will it be your team's year to hoist the Lombardi?
In the shotgun, Mahomes, he runs and he throws, caught, touchdown, it's caught, Hardman caught the ball, the Chiefs have won, the Chiefs have won. The entire bench empties, chasing Mahomes in the end zone. Their third Super Bowl in 5 years.
We preview all 32 teams right here on the Zach Gelb Show. Las Vegas Raiders.
Alrighty, time to preview the Las Vegas Raiders on the Zach Gelb Show. We'll bring in a man that won an MVP with the Raiders. He is the former quarterback, does a great job, Sirius XM NFL Radio, and that is Rich Gannon, kind enough to join us right now on the show. Rich, appreciate the time as always. How you been, my man?
Zach, I'm doing great. It's great to be with you. Training camp is just around the corner.
Yeah, it's a great time of the year, and before we know it, the games will actually start to mean something. Let me start you off with Aidan O'Connell. We saw him for about 11 or 10 games last year with the silver and black. Using your quarterback eye, what did you see out of the youngster?
I'd say it's a mixed bag. And in fairness, it's never easy as a rookie to have to play right away. And then, to get the rug pulled out from under you, when they made the coaching change, coordinator change. That's tough on a young player. And I just give him a lot of credit for how he hung in there, how he battled. He did some good things. I think for the most part, he took pretty good care of the football, with the exception of the Miami game on the road. I think his completion percentage can and will improve with reps and with experience. I think he makes good decisions. I think we saw a lot of him in the preseason. I call the Raider preseason games. You could just tell there was something special about him. But I just think he's got to take more control of it. He's got to take better command of the system. And look, there's going to be some healthy competition. He knows that. I think they want to see him take ownership of this operation. There's a big reason why they brought in Gardner Minshew, to create some healthy competition at the quarterback position.
Do you expect, I know you got to go through that competition, training camp in the preseason, do you expect O'Connell to win that job and then Gardner Minshew's just waiting there with the clipboard to start off the season?
I think it's going to be a close battle. I really do. I think the Raiders are excited about what Gardner Minshew brings. I think he's got a little bit of a different personality than Aiden. I think Gardner Minshew's got some swagger. We know about that. We've seen this guy perform, going back to his days at Washington State as a young player in Jacksonville. I thought he did some good things last year with the Colts. He's more than capable. He can make some plays. Not the biggest guy. He's never going to overpower you with his arm talent, but I think the players respond to his leadership style, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out in training camp with the Raiders. They have to make a decision early in the process, I believe. They've got a good sense of who these two players are coming out of the all-season program, but I'm not so sure that a final decision has been made. I think you need to see these guys compete in training camp.
Rich Gannon here with us previewing the Raiders. The Raiders lost Josh Jacobs. That's a big piece. They have a very good wide receiving core when you factor in the tight ends, too, with Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers. They drafted Brock Bowers the year before, Michael Mayer. But the running back position is a big question mark. The quarterback is as well. What do you kind of think this offense will look like if you were the offensive coordinator? You're envisioning how this is going to play out for the season.
Well, they've got some talented players. There's no question about it. You look at Zamir White, you look at Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah. They've got some guys that can tote the rock. I've always liked Alexander Madison going back to his days in Minnesota. Every time he got the opportunity, he certainly responded. So I think there's a lot of talent there. I think they've got to figure out what they're going to do there. I think that they'll use a number of those backs in different roles. I think certain backs are better in the passing game than others, but I think it's going to be a good offense. You mentioned some of the personnel. Davante Adams, one of the best receivers in the game. Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, I think will be better in year two. You look at the tight end position. I think I'm so excited for Brock Bowers because I've looked at a lot of tight ends coming out of college, and this guy is special. He's a different cat, and I think even Michael Mayer from his first year, I think is going to improve. So I think that's a pretty good position there. My biggest concern, and it's been that way for a couple of years now, is just offensive line. You got a good left tackle in Colton Miller. Andre James is certainly a talented guy when he's healthy, but they got to figure out that right guard, right tackle position. They got to get that interior of the offensive line playing together. There's been too much turnover up front for the Raiders.
Rich Gannon here with us. You talk about how you're excited for that 1-2 punch at tight end. How about, though, when we flip to the other side of the ball on defense? I think the world of Max Crosby, though, but I can't wait to see Max Crosby with Christian Wilkins. That's going to be a fun 1-2 punch.
They needed some help inside, right? When you start breaking down the tape from a year ago, Max Crosby gets a lot of attention, rightfully so. I think he's one of the most dominant players in his position. I've said a number of times that the Raiders had 25 players like Max Crosby, they'd never lose a game. He plays with such great energy, intensity, passion. The game's important to him. You bring in a guy like Christian Wilkins, I got a chance to talk to him when he signed, and I just know they're excited to play together. I think that's going to help that entire group up front. I'm excited to see, how some of these young guys that the Raiders got last year, how they can be better in year two. And I think that's going to be really important when you look at the makeup of this football team. You got some young guys. Tyree Wilson's a great example. How much better can he be in year two? Got off to kind of a slow start, had the injury, was coming off of the surgery in the offseason prior to his rookie campaign, but he's got a lot of talent. I thought, Malcolm Kuntz played well down the stretch. I'm anxious to see what some of those second-year players look like on offense and defense. I mentioned, you look at Trey Tucker, but Tyree Wilson, he's got to step his game up another level this year and hopefully find some more reps opposite Max Crosby.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when you look at pass rushers in the league, T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett, to me, are 1 and 2. But after that, you got Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, and Max Crosby. How would you rank those three between Crosby, Nick Bosa, and Micah Parsons? Just wondering.
Well, I think they're different. I love Micah Parsons, the way the Cowboys move him around. He has great position versatility. I mean, he can play. He can rush from either end. He can rush from inside. He can rush from a 2-point stance, a 3-point stance. He provides a lot of versatility. I just think, to me, it's Max not because I'm a former Raider, but this guy I mentioned, all the qualities and attributes that you just absolutely love at that position. He has the length. He's got the explosiveness. He's got the change of direction ability. He plays the run. He doesn't take plays off. He's got a great motor. I played with John Randall when he was a young player. Now, they play different positions, Randall being a defensive tackle, Max Crosby being defensive end. But if you go back and watch John Randall made a lot of his big plays late in games because he was a finely conditioned athlete, and he just wore guys down. And that's what Max Crosby does. And that's why, I really like Max. I put Micah behind him, and that's just how I look at that. But I just think you talk about some special players, but very different players at that position.
Talking to Rich Gannon right now. Let's get to the football coach Antonio Pierce, right? Was on the staff last year, takes over when McDaniels got fired, and brought instant juice to this team and some direction and leadership. Gets the job in the offseason, right? We saw before with like the Rich Bisaccia situation. He didn't get the job full time. But what do you think Antonio Pierce brings to this team over the course of a full season now?
Well, I think he stepped into a really difficult situation last year. We talked about the young quarterback having to handle that. But I thought, the job that Antonio Pierce did last year was incredible. I think, players certainly respect him. I think the way he spoke out and told the players, hey, it's not good enough. We expect more. We need more from you. I think once he became the head coach, you're talking about a former player, a guy that's done it at every level, a position coach, and guys respect him. And I thought guys really played hard for Antonio Pierce. Clearly, it wasn't too much for him. And I think you look at what he's had a chance now this offseason to kind of round out that staff. He brings in Marvin Lewis, who he's got some history with. Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator. It's a pretty good staff. I think on the defensive side of the ball, keeping Patrick Graham, we did a great job last year with that unit. So I think they're a year better when you look at how they've rounded out the staff, how they've made some changes. But I think certainly he'll have benefited from having had the opportunity to be in those shoes a year ago, have an off season to reflect and to work on some things. But I'm excited for the Raiders. I think it's going to be a very interesting division. Obviously, the Chiefs are, they're the top of the division with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in that operation. But behind the Chiefs, I think it's going to be very interesting how things play out in the AFC West. You got the Raiders, you got new head coach with the Chargers, and a very talented quarterback in Justin Herbert, and don't count out Sean Payton with the Broncos. They've got some new quarterbacks there as well. You look at Stidham, who was there last year, but they go out and get Bo Nix, and they like Zach Wilson. And I think you get Zach Wilson back up on the horse, you get him some coaching, and that's going to be very interesting to see who winds up starting Week 1 for the Denver Broncos as well.
Previewing the Raiders, wrapping up a few more minutes with Rich Gannon. There's been a lot of conversation about Davante Adams and his future with the team this week. What do you kind of make of all of it, and how do you evaluate it?
I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. I think it'd be crazy to follow his buddy, who's going to be 41 this year, to Green Bay or to New York. after having played together in Green Bay. I mean, look, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to play 10 games, 12 games, 17 games. And I think that Davante Adams likes playing for the Raiders. I think that I think the future's bright. I think sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and I just think that there's always going to be rumors, but I really believe that he's going to be a Raider for a while.
Yeah, I think that he'll be there this year. I think he'll do that for Antonio Pierce. I think he wanted Pierce to be the coach. That was clear. So I think he's happy for this year. But if they don't figure out this quarterback position, Rich, it would not shock me at the end of the year if that's when the conversation really picks up.
No, and look, when you're a great player, a premier player at your position, and your position happens to require you to get some opportunities and touches in the passing game, then yeah, you're going to be frustrated, right? When you're not playing with a perennial Pro Bowl caliber player, and I think that's important. And the Raiders, trust me, I think the number one priority this offseason, and it continues to be, is to address the long-term plan at the quarterback position. It took a shot at Aiden O'Connell in the draft last year. I think the arrow is pointing in the right direction with him. This is going to be an important second season. Can he win that job in training camp? Can he hold off Gardner Minshew? And can he play all 17 games? And can he get the Raiders in the postseason? He did some good. Look, he beat every team in the division last year. I mean, he beat the Chiefs, he beat the Chargers, he beat the Broncos. This kid can play, but they've got to get better around him, and it starts with, I think, playing better up front along that offensive line.
And if it's not Aiden O'Connell for the future, Shedeur Sanders, right, with the silver and black next season?
Oh, it could be, but that's the problem. You look at these quarterbacks. That you had so many quarterbacks going early in the draft. I think a lot of them got drafted before, way sooner than they should have. But that's just, hey, look, when you don't have a quarterback, there is a real sense of urgency to get one. We can't keep banging our heads against the wall, trying to compete against Patrick Mahomes twice a season, Justin Herbert, when we don't have our own flamethrower. You have to have a great quarterback in this game. We fire coaches every year at a record clip, and we look at the number of coaches that have been fired in the last 4 years alone. They're all getting fired for the same reason. If you can't identify, develop that position of quarterback, somebody's getting fired. It's usually the head coach first, or the coordinator, and then eventually the general manager. But the Raiders, they've got to find the long-term answer at the quarterback position.
The last thing I'll ask you, just going back to all the Adams speculation with maybe getting traded to the Jets, I think it depends on how we look at the Jets at the end of this season, too, and also the Raiders quarterback situation like we're talking about. But, Rich, how do you think we're talking about the Jets at the end of the year? What do you think they're going to be this year?
It's so hard to predict. I think that, I think you look at their defense, and there's no question they've got a talented defense, right? And I think their defense played well enough last year, to keep them in a lot of games. But offensively, when you look at the quarterback position, Aaron Rodgers getting hurt so early in the season. I shouldn't say early in the season. I mean, just basically 4 plays into the season. So, they weren't able to recover from that. Zach Wilson continued to take steps backwards. And so, I think you look at where they're at, and I think a lot of it's dependent upon Aaron Rodgers. I mean, if this is a team that, can have Aaron Rodgers play 13, 14 games, you could be looking at a playoff team. This is a pretty talented roster. You look at the depth chart for the Jets, and it's like, Aaron Rodgers, when he's healthy, even at his age, he's still one of the better quarterbacks in the game. And you go out and get Mike Williams, Breece Hall's healthy.
Garrett Wilson.
You got Garrett Wilson. I think they're trying to address the offensive line. Can this offensive line stay healthy? And that's a big question mark, so, I mean, you got an aging left tackle. You got a problem, with the right tackle position. A lot of movement there. And I'm not so sure that offensive line is going to be good enough and healthy enough for Aaron Rodgers to play all 17.
He is Rich Gannon. You can listen to him on Sirius XM NFL Radio, where he's done a great job for a long time. Rich, always appreciate when you join us on the show here for a few minutes.
You're the best. Thanks, brother.
Thanks so much. There he is, Rich Gannon, joining us on the show. Some good stuff there. We will take a break. We got one more segment to play, and it is time for This Week in Sports, which we'll do on the other side. But first, it's time for the latest Infinity Sports Network update, and we do so with El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Sports Flash.
Now, Zach, the agents for Davante Adams say there's no basis for the rumors of him heading to the Jets to reunite with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Adams trying to quell that as well while talking with Shannon Sharp on the Club Shay Shay podcast.
I'm actively on the Raiders.
Right.
What do I look like sitting here talking to other people about being on another team?
Right.
You know, and that's how I still feel about it right now. Like, I'm locked in with the Raiders, and I really feel good about this team. And you know, as far as I know, they feel good about me.
However, Adams did add this, though.
If that ever changed, if that got to a point where they weren't feeling the same way, you know, I ain't done playing, so obviously we would figure out whatever we needed to figure out. But in the thought of playing with Aaron is obviously amazing. Like, I already know what that's like.
So we'll see what comes of the situation if Adams remains with the Raiders, if the Jets can make another big splash and try to bring home their first Super Bowl in over 50 years. New Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer grateful for the foundation laid by Nick Saban and the way he's handled this transition.
First of all, want him to always know that he's welcome, but I also appreciate that he has put forth the ultimate respect in trying to let us kind of establish who we are.
And Team USA rocked Serbia 105-79 behind 24 from Steph Curry. I'm Marco Belletti.
You make the call. 855-212-4227. When you want to talk to us, call 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We have Alex on Long Island saying, Zach, what did you make of the All-Star jerseys last night? You can submit a question by tweeting at INSSportsCenter or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I thought they were horrible. I'm not a big jersey guy, to be clear. People lose their mind over the littlest things with jerseys. But the American League All-Star jerseys last night, Samter, I guess the best way to describe them, they were cream. And then on the sleeves, it was either an orange or a red with a little blue on the sleeve, which looked absolutely terrible. And then the National League it almost looked like the Marlins were playing because it was a black jersey with that bluish, tealish writing. And then there was the orange that was on the other jersey was underneath the sleeves on this jersey. The NLs were better, I would say, but that's what disease would you rather have? Both were rancid, I thought.
Just go back to wearing the jersey of your team that you just
100%.
Just
right?
wear a Yankees jersey, wear an Orioles jersey, wear a Marlins jersey, wear whatever.
I'm with you. And then it makes it easier to identify who the player is, which is the whole point of the All-Star game, is to market the personalities and the stars of the game. For Aaron Judge, you could put him whatever. Everyone knows who Aaron Judge is. But Alec Boehm, for example, who's a very good player. He's on my fantasy team. Does the average fan, can they just recognize him if he's in a regular? No, if Mike Trout walked down the streets of New York City, people wouldn't be able to recognize him. So I would just go back to the team and the regular jersey that you wear for the All-Star game. I'm with you 100% on that one. All righty, let's get to This Week in Sports.
Fire up the time machine.
I don't believe what I just saw.
We take a look back at the biggest moments in history on another edition of This Week in Sports on the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, Samter. You have gone back into the time machine and you've gone into the archives. What have you pulled up for us this week?
Well, This Week in Sports, today exactly.
Oh, really?
Back in 1941.
I remember it well.
You were just a glint in your parent's eye.
I don't even. In when?
1941. Were your parents even a glint in their parents' eye?
I don't even know. My parents weren't even a thought then.
And there you go. Yeah, my dad was 1943. So, yeah, my dad wasn't even a glint.
Your dad wasn't born in 43.
43, my mom in 44.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I know I just said, are you serious? My Siri popped off. My dad, I want to say, is 1959, and my mom was 1961. Sorry about that.
All right, well, there you go.
They weren't thoughts then.
I'm older than you, and my parents are older than your parents, apparently, so there you go. But
how old are your parents?
81, almost 81 and 80, respectively.
Wow.
Yeah, fun times. This was July 17th, 1941. Jumpin' Joe DiMaggio, something that began on May 15th of that baseball season there in 1941, continued on to July 16th, the epic, historic 56-game hit streak. Today, July 17th, 1941, was when that hit streak ended. He hit in 56 straight games. He went 0 for 3 against the Cleveland Indians. He faced off against starter Al Smith, and Jim Bagby Jr. came in with the bases loaded late in the game, and DiMaggio came up to the plate and grounded into a double play with the streak on the line. He hit 408 during the streak. He passed Willie Keeler, his 44-game streak, which stood since 1897 for 44 years before Joe D did break that streak. But after the streak was over, Joe D actually told a really interesting story about what happened that day that may have maybe jinxed him and caused the streak to come to a close.
We generally walk to the ballpark from the Cleveland Hotel to the Municipal, which is only about a 6-block walk. However, we decided to take a cab this particular day, and as entering the cab, the fellow looked over at me and he says, "Aren't you Joe?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You know, I got a feeling you're going to be stopped tonight." It was a night game, and Lefty liked to climb all over the fellow. He felt very bad about the whole incident throughout that night because he had felt the jinx was put upon me. We started a little bit of a rally one inning, and they brought in Jim Bagby, a relief pitcher, and there was a man on first base, and I was at bat with 1 out, and I hit a ball to the left of Lou Boudreau, who was managing the ball club, who was playing shortstop. And as going to field the ball took a bad hop, and he got his glove up in time and threw to second base and completed the double play, and that's how that streak was broken.
Very cool to hear the voice from the grave from Joe D right there, that he was jinxed by a cab driver on the way to the stadium. You know what? You don't believe in baseball jinxes and the no-hitters? That's proof right there. So that was This Week in Baseball. Joe D's 56-game hit streak comes to an end, which brings the question, what is the most unbreakable streak in all of sports?
So there's a lot of answers here. So I know someone could be like, "Oh, Gelb, how did you miss this one? You're an idiot." There's like 20 that you could at least think of right off the top of the cabeza. But I'll let Samter list all of them because that's what Samter usually does. He lists like 9,000 things before getting to his one. I've said this before. It's my favorite one. And I said it during the Stanley Cup playoffs. When you look at the most points in a NHL career, the great one, Wayne Gretzky, 2,857 points. Most points in the history of the league. If you took away all of his goals, all 894 goals, he would still have the most points in the history of the league at 1,963. Jaromir Jagr, with his goals and assists, have 1,921 points. To show you and illustrate to you why no one will ever get 2,857 points in their illustrious career, Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby are the most well-known hockey players in the last 15 years or so, and they've played for a long time. Sidney Crosby played in 1,272 games. Alexander Ovechkin played in 1,426 games. Now, Alexander Ovechkin, in all likelihood, is going to surpass Wayne Gretzky's goals, as he's at 853. May want to work in a salad as of late, though, Alex. And Wayne Gretzky's 894 goals. But for both those players' careers so far, they're 13th and 10th all-time in points. Ovechkin, 1,550, and Sidney Crosby, 1,596. No one will ever break Wayne Gretzky's point record for a career of 2,857. Not even the great Connor McDavid, who's very, very, very good. So that's mine.
Mine is pretty easy. It was epic when it happened. Cal Ripken Jr.'s streak of 2,632 consecutive
especially now
games
with all
played.
these.
Yeah, the next best streak after that was 500. Lou Gehrig, 500 games behind that. Miguel Tejada had 1,152 straight games from 2000 to 2007. The most recent streak that we can even point to is Whit Merrifield from 2018 to 2022, had 553 straight games played. No one is coming close in this day of resting players and 162-game season and pitch count and all this nonsense. No one's even going to get close to 1,000, let alone to 2,600. Cal Ripken Jr.'s streak is unbeatable.
Isn't there a theory why he missed the game? Have you ever seen this? Nico, you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Allegedly.
Yes,
Allegedly. Kevin Costner was sleeping with his wife.
Yep.
And I remember like an article happened. Oh, I have it here somewhere. Yeah, it was in February of 2024. Will Ferrell kind of believes this Cal Ripken, Kevin Costner theory. All righty, Nico, what do you got?
So I went with one that will bring a lot of skepticism because a lot of people think that there was some cheating that was involved with it. But I'm going to go with Barry Bonds hitting 73 home runs in a season. We were talking about Aaron Judge breaking Roger Maris's record when he hit 62, like it was the greatest thing ever.
Sure.
And it still wasn't even close to Barry Bonds' 73. So I don't think anyone's ever going to come close to breaking that record.
Gotcha. I would say Cy Young wins. That was the other one I was thinking of. 511. You have guys now that win the Cy Young, they have like 12 wins on a season. So I don't think anyone will ever get most wins of all time. 511 past Cy Young. All righty, fun show today. Big thanks to Nico. Big thanks to Samter. Big thanks to Rich Gannon. Big thanks to each and every one of you. We will be back mañana at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on the Infinity Sports Network, across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates. Sirius XM, channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, always streaming live on YouTube. You give me a follow on the good old cesspool of Twitter and Instagram if you ever want to interact with the show at Zach Gelb. And when the show ends, if you missed any of it, you can still find it. Just go to my link in my bio on my Twitter page, X page. Brings you all of our podcasts. And also, you could use the free Odyssey app, and you could rewind up to 24 hours after the show if you missed any of the compelling 3 hours that we had for you. Okay, great show today. We'll be back tomorrow on the last show of the week on a Thursday because it is a summertime and I'm taking some vacation. I'll be off on Friday. Have a great Wednesday night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. We're out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.